you, Micah. It's a pleasure to be here. I am going to talk about Silicon Valley's problem that I see in the tech industry in the Bay Area. And I should note for the geography nerds, I'm going to use the term Bay Area, Silicon Valley, and San Francisco interchangeably, so just be aware of that to start. I'm talking about that whole thing up in the peninsula inside of the 280 highway that you see on the screen. And that's where the tech industry is essentially headquartered. I think it's a solvable problem. I'm going to tell you why, but first I want to set some context for how I started thinking about this issue. I moved to San Francisco about 16 months ago to open the Obama campaign's technology field office, which was the first of its kind in American political history. And our charge was to recruit technology professionals to build software for the campaign on a volunteer basis. So it was essentially a field office, but instead of making calls and canvassing, we were writing code and designing tools. And I also became sort of a de facto spokesperson for the Obama administration's technology policy, mostly because at the same time I moved to San Francisco, SOPA and PIPA were dying. And so I was witnessing this awakening in the tech industry of interest in the political and policymaking process, which was really exciting, but it's also kind of scary because I had assumed that they were paying attention the whole time. So I was kind of freaked out. And I also, on a personal level, and who here is from San Francisco or the Bay Area? Holler at me. Holla. I had what I think is a typical reaction of people who are new to the area, which is this mix of horror and frustration and fascination and disorientation with the social dysfunction in the city, which is also juxtaposed really starkly against fabulous wealth. And for those of you who are familiar with the city, know the block between Mission Street and Valencia Street in the Mission neighborhood. If you've ever taken BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, through the city and gotten off at 16th Street Mission Station, you know what I'm talking about. These streets are separated by about 300 feet, and they could not be more different. Valencia Street is green, and it has high-end furniture stores, and actually this brick building you see in the picture on the right is a small batch chocolate shop, which I'm not even sure what that means. It's artisanal cheese stores. In the one block of Valencia Street that I lived closest to, in the 4 months I was there, 5 new restaurants opened in one block. On the other hand, on my way to work, I would walk down 17th, cross Valencia, and then 20 seconds later hit Mission Street, which was completely different. And these pictures don't really do it justice because I don't go out there at night when it's really crazy. But I would go from a high-end furniture store to stepping over human feces and witnessing crack deals within the span of about 20 seconds. And as someone from the East Coast who's used to cities keeping their undesirables well tucked away from the yuppie classes, this was really fascinating to me. And so I started asking people who had been there longer than I had, what was the urban policy behind this stark difference between these two streets? And one answer I heard a lot, which I'm not sure is true, but a lot of people said that because buses run on Mission Street, the storefronts are less desirable. And that's certainly not all of the reason. It may not be any of the reason, but I thought that was fascinating because anyone who lives in the Mission knows that, in fact, buses do run on Valencia Street. They look like this. They were in the other picture I took of Valencia Street because it's really actually kind of hard in the morning to take a picture of Valencia Street without including these buses in it. They're picking up tech industry workers to take them down to tech company headquarters in Silicon Valley. And every big company has them: Yahoo, Google, Apple, EA, Netflix, eBay. There's even a startup that picks up other startups' people to take them down because their startups aren't big enough to have their own bus. And the routes are not public, mostly because there's fights between the companies and the city over the fact that they don't pay taxes in the city and they use public bus stops to pick up workers. But Stamen Design was able to crowdsource this map, and as you can see, it's essentially a private public transportation system that runs alongside San Francisco's regular public transportation system. And this has become a symbol for longtime San Franciscans of the gentrification of the city, and they feel very strongly about it. And that's gentrification that's been driven by the tech industry. And I mean, I don't really mind the buses that much. I think they're taking a lot of cars off the road. They run on biodiesel. I am friends with many people who ride them. But at the time, when I was moving to San Francisco and SOPA and PIPA were dying and the tech industry was coming out of this, kind of emerging from this isolation, the buses to me kind of symbolized that isolation, that they were even in the same physical community isolated from where they did business. And I started thinking about this as I was actually trying to recruit the people who were riding those buses to come work with us in public service. I started thinking about the implications for that isolation and whether those of us who care about the democratizing potential of the internet needed to worry about it. And there are many reasons to be concerned about the tech industry, not least what they're contributing to the inequality in the Bay Area. Fifth highest concentration of millionaires, 43% of households making more than $100,000 a year, which is compared to 21% in the rest of the country. Housing prices through the roof. A one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, the median price is over $2,700 a month, which is the highest in the country, and is also the reason I live in Oakland. Oakland, yeah. At the same time, the middle class is shrinking. Between 2009 and 2011, the number of households that were making less than $35,000 a year went up by 2%. There is an extreme lack of affordable housing, and food stamp participation has gone up every year since 2001. And if you're Black or Hispanic, that situation is much worse. In Silicon Valley, the per capita change in income between 2009 and 2011 for Blacks went down by 18%, which is compared to 4% for Blacks nationally, going down 4% nationally. For Hispanics, it's down 5%. For whites and Asians, it's actually up, where it's down in the rest of the country. It's up in Silicon Valley. So we see that the wealth is not trickling down. Where is it going? Last year, $10.9 billion was invested into new startups, or into startups in Silicon Valley. And 89% of the founding teams, so this is actually data from 2010, because unless there is something that I missed, I couldn't find any data for more recently. 89% of the founding teams for California seed or Series A startups were all male. Only 3% were all female. And actually in Massachusetts, curiously, and I'm not sure why this is the case, 31% of the teams that were raising seed or Series A funding were all female. Yay, Massachusetts. And actually in Silicon Valley, women make 49 cents on the dollar to what a man makes, whereas it's 77 cents on the dollar nationwide. Again, if you're Black, you don't even get a spot on the pie chart in California. Less than 1% of all of those founders who are raising seed or Series A money were Black, and they get less money than white and Asian founders do. So, there's this attitude, actually there's not an attitude, people just don't really seem to think about this. It's not like they don't care, it's just hasn't been at the front of their minds. And I'll give you kind of a good example of this. Y Combinator, I know there's some graduates in the room. It's probably the best incubator accelerator for startups in the world. It has graduated companies like Airbnb, Dropbox, and Reddit. Its founder, Paul Graham, is a wizard of Silicon Valley. He claims, though it's hard to confirm this, that the 511 companies that have graduated from Y Combinator are worth a combined $11.5 billion. And he gave an interview to NPR last summer, which I happened to hear at the time, where he talked about how he selects or considers the entrepreneurs he funds. And I think it's playing right now.
Living with it, ongoing.
Paul Graham is the kinetic founder of Y Combinator. He's constantly on the hunt for new talent.
I find myself inadvertently noticing as I'm walking down the street, I see a couple of guys walking down the street and I think, oh, they look like they'd make good founders or bad founders, right, as the case may be.
What's the look? What are you looking for?
The right kind of nerdy. Like, these guys in this room are not suits, but they're not schlubs either. These are fierce nerds. You have to be somewhat intimidating looking, and that's what these guys are.
They've got a lean and hungry.
So, of course, this is not the only way that Paul Graham chooses the companies that he invests in. And there are certainly female founders at Y Combinator, very successful ones, but this kind of gut instinct is pervasive in the Bay Area, and the results in terms of gender and race speak for themselves. I'm sure that I do not constitute the right kind of nerdy. though I may be flattering myself.
Ongoing.
Let's see.
Paul Graham is the
So you may be wondering at this point why I'm picking on the tech industry, since they add a lot more value to the world than, say, Wall Street or the extractive industries or the military-industrial complex. And at least they're not taking value out of the world, I don't think. And also this argument, this critique has been made before. It's getting a little bit stale, most recently by Evgeny Morozov and George Packer in The New Yorker, so why am I even bothering? And I think there's three reasons. One, just from a straight up progressive ideological perspective, I'm not okay with the industry that's growing up on arguably the most democratizing technology in the history of humankind looking the way that it does. And if this is to be the industry that is creating our economy over the next century, we're in trouble because those of us who work in innovation know that good innovation cannot come out of an ecosystem that looks like this. And it is true that because Silicon Valley has just over the years become more and more of a white and Asian male, upper middle class male bastion, the problems that they're solving really are becoming more and more meaningless, and they're so far up the hierarchy of needs that it's just getting kind of mind-blowing. So, like, who needs Snapchat, seriously? But I also think, aside from that pragmatic reason, I also am making this critique because I really have great faith in the tech industry, maybe paradoxically. There is overwhelming talent and desire to solve big problems in Silicon Valley. And I think that we should invest in that. And so, back to my personal story, as the campaign was winding down, I had to decide where I was going to live permanently. I lived in 4 cities in the past 2 years, and so I didn't really have roots anywhere. The only thing that I knew was that wherever I was moving, it was going to be a permanent move. And so I put a lot of thought into it. And I decided to stay in the Bay Area, not only because it looks like this most of the time, but because I have great faith in the future of the tech industry there. And I think over the next decades, we're going to see a lot of change. And I want to be a part of that. I still think Silicon Valley is the best place in the world for game-changing ideas. And I want to be a part of that. I want to make sure it stays that way. And the thing about being on the ground there is you not only see the problems, you're not only stepping over the human feces, but you're seeing the green shoots coming up in organizations that are addressing the pipeline issue, like Code 2040, Girls Who Code, who just opened a San Francisco office, and Black Girls Code. Dozens of social change companies that are using the internet to make the world a better place, and lots of investors who are supporting those companies, a growing group of investors who made their money in the tech industry. We're also not ceding the media and news landscape to the East Coast. There are great innovative platforms that are going to change the way we share news and information. And even forward.us, and I'm sure this is not the last time that this topic will come up this weekend, though not the political action committee that I would have started, is taking steps down the right path. And they are learning hard lessons that are going to help us in the long term. And last but not least, the civic technology ecosystem anchored by Code for America, which is tackling the biggest problem of them all, which is our broken government. And if any of you want to help us in that, our fellowship application process is open until July 31st at codeforamerica.org. So this is why I stayed. And this is why I have great faith and optimism in the area. And I'm going to leave you with one final impression that I had when I first moved to San Francisco alongside the buses and the crack deals. One thing I remember so starkly is the fear that we were going to open this Obama tech office and no one was going to come. Why would well-compensated and highly skilled engineers with very little free time want to come deal with our crap? And I could not have been more wrong. We got hundreds of people signing up to help us build software for the campaign. We were in a position of not having enough work to give them. And when we asked them why they did this, they all, almost to a person, said the same thing, which was, I always wanted to participate, but no one ever gave me anything to do with my skills that mattered. And most of them guys, quit their jobs. They put off the startup they were going to found to work with us full time. They moved to Nevada and Florida and Chicago. One of the Facebook engineers who volunteered with us, used all of his vacation days to go to Chicago and build our Election Day incident reporting tool. And it's the same at Code for America. We get hundreds of applications from people in cushy tech jobs who are willing to give it all up to do a year of public service in city government. They were just waiting to be asked. So that's my charge to you. Let's ask them. Do not count out the geeks. Do not fall into the trap that Evgeny Morozov is setting for you, as tempting as it is. The inconvenient truth is that there are brilliant minds in Silicon Valley who give a shit, and we need to give them the opportunities to make a change in the world. That yes, Silicon Valley has problems, but solutionism, this idea that the only tools that the industry is building are meaningless, that only is true if we allow it to be true. So yes, there are problems, but we can fix them if we work together with the industry. Let's start pulling those people who care in instead of pushing them out. Thank you.